you grow this confidence about yourself that's hard to learn, especially when you're a teen. It's hard to feel confident in yourself because you feel like everybody's looking at you all the time. So when you grow that confidence, I think it really helps you to live the rest of your life in a way that's meaningful for yourself.
I'm Glenn Herbert, and I'm an editor with Our Kids. We're speaking with insiders from Canada's leading private schools to gain insights into their programs, culture, traditions, and leadership. This includes insights from parents, alumni, and administrators. This is the Our Kids Insider Perspective.
There's a lot of things. I mean, I liked one of them kind of it's very much kind of like a logistic thing to do with the school, but it's just like the class sizes. They're very small, and when you enter in grade 10, you move in like a cohort with your grade everywhere. Like you have all the same classes together, so you really get to know your own grade so that when you move into grade 11 and 12, you have a good idea of who's with you and who's, like around your grade level and who you can like, work together with in projects and stuff like that. You have this like background of knowledge, and they do these like retreats and stuff so that you can get to know each other outside of school as well. So you have a more of a connection to the school, which I think honestly, I think helps a lot with like attendance and stuff like that because you actually want to be there. So it's not so like most of the people that are there, want to be there, like they want to show up for school in the morning, which is definitely not the case in all schools, as I'm sure most of us have experienced. Um, and the other thing that's like really interesting about RJC is that since there's a dorm, there's always people there. You know what I mean? Like there's day or night, if you want to go and hang out with somebody or talk to somebody, you can kind of go there and there's always going to be somebody around. So the school's kind of alive all the time, which I think is kind of nice because if you're like me, I'm an only child, I have a very small family, so when I come home sometimes it's like, okay, I could watch Netflix for 3 hours or maybe like, it's like I'm not doing so much. So then it's nice to be able to go back there and just be like, hey, obviously that's kind of changed since the pandemic a little bit, but in my experience, and I think once things are quieted down in terms of that thing, they'll go back to how it was when I was there. But for sure, like family and community aspect, like RJC is like known kind of everybody knows that if you go to RJC, you're gonna come out with like a lot of friends and you're gonna have a good community there. Like that's pretty like I'd say the biggest thing that people, especially parents, look for because they know that when they go there, they're gonna have because there's like, you know, not only are there students, like there's lots of students that are there all the time, but also there's like, there's the teachers and then there's deans. There's deans that are there all the time because of the dorms. So there's always somebody to provide like support and so you don't really feel like you're alone there. And I think lots of students feel that way, especially in high school. So that's a huge factor that there's that good community, and academics is the other one. Like it's really a leader in academics. And I know for me personally, when I started in university, my first English class, they do that thing in university where they're like, most of you will probably fail your first essay because it's like, really want to welcome everyone in. And I was just expecting to get a really terrible mark because she was like, not, I want to get a good mark on it, whatever. But I got a great mark on that essay, and she said, then she like took me aside after and was like, somebody taught you how to write essays like super, super well. Like somebody really taught you how to write at a university level. And I was like, oh, and it was my English teacher, Jill Weens, in fact, in grade 12, because she was going through, she was adding on to her degree of some kind, I think, during that time, and she was getting a certificate in something else. So she was doing the writing process in university, and she teaches that, but not in a way that's difficult. Like all my friends that went with me said like, oh yeah, it's actually way easier than the high school, but at the same time, we get a much higher standard of academics to me. And I've seen that through my university career. So yeah, those two things. The kind of the cool sort of almost like a little hippie kind of welcoming friend, in the friend group that just really like you can talk to them at any time and you can like call them up and be like, "Hey, I'm going through this thing." And they'd be like, "Oh yeah, like let's talk about it. I'll make you tea." Like it feels very much like very chill and relaxed, but also, there for you and kind of like put together. I don't know, the mom friend, mom friend of schools. There's like this other side kind of too where it's like it's very welcoming and kind of laid back, but when he or she like when they want to, if it was a person, they could like be seriously good at something, those people that are always just kind of chill and relax, and you see them like say play a sport or do like whatever, and you're like, oh, you're really good at that. I thought you were just chill and laid back, but you could be super good. It's kind of like that. There's like this other side too. Anyway, yeah. I think interestingly enough, the biggest commonality is the lack of commonalities. Like in grade 10, like everybody that comes to RJC is like incredibly different, like really, really different. Cause you come from, since it's a boarding school, people come from, like Hong Kong and Mexico and, but then also from around Canada and then a couple from the States. And so it's like you have all these people with not only different, you know, cultures and different life experiences, but also different languages, different everything kind of comes together. So like in grade 10, there's no commonality. And then as you go through the grades, you kind of like grow as a person and you grow to understand the people that are around you. And so I don't know, there's lots of how do I say it? It's like they seem to be kind of put together in a way, but it's not like they got there like that. I don't know how to say. Like everybody gets there and is kind of like whatever all over the place, and then you can kind of see people's confidence growing. And I think probably like, if you saw the grade 10 students at RJC, you'd see every different kind of person and perspective, and then as you go through, say, in, like, grade 11, you'd be a little bit more confident, and I think that confidence is kinda what sets RJC students apart, is that you really get to know yourself, by getting to know everybody else around you and how you interact with them, so I think probably the confidence factor, and you notice that especially I don't know why that came to mind, but in sports, like, you can kinda tell who's from RJC because they have this self-confidence about them that you can tell when they play or when they're in a in a space, it's like they have this kinda, like, aura around them of just confidence, like, they know what they're doing. So, yeah, sorry, it's kind of a long answer, but Um, I think there's a few. I think one of them is definitely, like I said, getting to know yourself. Like it's very important. Like this teachers, especially at RJC, um, they push you to do well, but they push you to do well for yourself. Like a lot of schools kind of have like a benchmark that you have to meet, if you know what I mean. Like it's like, okay, if you meet here, then you are successful. And I don't think RJC really has that. It's kind of like they want you to do well, but they want you to do well, not like you as a student of 30, excuse me, they want you as an individual, as a person to do well. So, if say like a lot of schools push like after school clubs or academics, or I mean, or athletics, similar words, then they want all students to take part in these things, and it is encouraged. But if you're really into athletics, there are so many opportunities for you to succeed in athletics, and you're not if you're doing that and that's what you want to do, there's so many opportunities for you to do that, and as well as if you really thrive in academics or in the arts, lots of arts, like we have a great theater program, musical theater program, great choir and music program. So there's so many ways for you to get to know yourself and succeed for yourself personally, not just as one of many. And I don't know, probably the other would just be like taking care of each other. And I think I mean, that should be a human value. I think that's something that's kind of lots of people would argue is, something that lots of people would know about already. But um, it gets put into practice a lot, like that kind of group thinking, that group mentality, which I think is more and more important as, events happen in the world. So I, that's something that's the students learn quite early on, and continue with throughout their um, program there. I think then the last thing would probably be thinking outside of your comfort zone or of your home community, because we do these things called also trips. And it's where you go, there's different destinations you can go to, and you go to do like acts of service. So, you go to, I went to a couple of places, but one of the places I went was to Alabama to build homes with Habitat for Humanity, for people who had lost their homes in Hurricane Katrina a while back. They're still rebuilding. So we went to do that, and it just helps to kind of broaden your horizons and, make you think outside of your community into the broader world and how you yourself can make a difference. And I think that's I think that's probably one of their explicit values as well, but it's one that you really see put into practice over and over again. And I've used it a lot actually. Um, After, like, outside of school, the things that I learned on those trips and the way it broadened my mind have really become apparent in university. Um, I don't think my mom is the kind of person who's not really surprised about anything. Like the weirdest thing in the world could happen and she'd be like, "Yeah." Like she's just kind of relaxed. But even she was like kind of surprised at the things that I got involved with, because there's so many things you can do, like you can do singing and all these things. And so, pardon me, there's some things that I got involved in that she was like, "Oh, you're gonna do that? Like, oh, you wanna be part of the, like, the choir?" There's, like, kind of a, sort of almost like a club choir. I don't know, it's almost like a sports team, but for choir. I don't know how to but I got involved in that, and I also got involved in sports and some other things, and she was like, "Oh, I didn't expect you to do both those things. I expected you to pick one." So, kind of you know, diversity of what I did, I think surprised her. For me myself, this is gonna sound funny, and I'm sure if any RJC teachers ever see this video, they're gonna laugh because it's so true. But I went before, like, you can go and, tour the school and whatever, that kind of thing. And oftentimes I would go watch people play sports there before I actually went there. And if you walk into a gym where RJC is playing a sport, it kind of seems like a cult, like just a little bit, because the students are so supportive of athletics that they wear like a full blue suit, or like there's one guy that always wears a blue tutu. It doesn't matter. Like it's just across the board. So it's like this huge like group of just blue people, because that's one of our school colors, it's blue, white, and I think maybe black or something like that. And so it's just this huge like mass people. And then they have these chants for cheers that everybody knows. And so it surprised me how like weird everybody was. I was like, these people are so weird. But it was perfect because I felt like that too. Like I was always the weird person in school. And so I was like, my people, you're here. And so it kind of surprised me that they were so cool about being, themselves in that way. So, oh yeah, for sure. Yeah, I would be a totally different person if I hadn't gone to RJC, which is kind of an interesting thought. Like every now and again, I've thought about that. I'm like, what would I have been like otherwise? And I honestly don't know. Like, it totally, it totally helped me. I don't know, like come into myself. And I think that's a term that's used a lot. And people are like, all right, like, yes, okay, I don't know what you're talking about, but sure. But it's just like I really learned about myself. And I mean, I think like I'm sure a lot of parents want me to say about, how much I valued the academic achievement and whatever. And honestly, I did do really well in academics and it's easy there, but it wasn't that stuck with me. It was the self-confidence and the self knowledge that I gained there that's really helped me. And I find that even in university, I notice it in things that are like studying. Like I know lots of my friends in university don't actually know how to study, and I think that's common. Like you get into university and it's like, I've never done this before, even though I should have through grades 10 through 12. But for me, it was like, since there was so many people around all the time, you see people studying and you learn other people's techniques in studying. And then you learn what's best for you because you're like around all these people all the time and you get to try out different things. So then by the time I got to university, I was like, oh yeah, I know the drill. Like I know myself well enough to know what's going to help me remember these things and what is useless. Like, for example, I'm a flashcards person, flashcards all day, where like, some people prefer to just write their stuff over and over again. That does absolutely nothing for me. Doesn't work at all. So I already knew that. And so it saved time for me. And also just like, I don't know. It's mostly, yeah, like the self-confidence and the knowledge of myself, because like you think you know yourself, you know? I think like when you're like I think I started when I was maybe 16. Was I'm a little older than most students and was in grade 10, so I think I was 16. But you think you know yourself at 16. You don't know anything when you're 16. And then I think that getting to know yourself can be a harsh transition. It can be like oh, okay, or a gentle one. And RJC helped it to be a gentle one where I was discovering myself without having the like, moments that I think lots of people have in high school. So, yeah, I think what I've carried into my life has just been knowing myself well enough to know how to carry myself through life and which opportunities fit me best. And that's been like hugely helpful. But, like, honestly, there's not too much that I would change. Like, I don't really have a glaring, like, "Oh, I would change this." There's, like, maybe. And I think from what I hear, like, I still have a lot of friends that go there, now, so, like, I kinda get to hear what it's like now compared to when I was there. But when I was there, there was, like, a little bit of a divide between the dorm students and the town students, like, just a tiny bit, not student-wise, but it was just, like, you get really close, obviously, when you live together in the dorms versus when you come in just as a day student, which was I was a day student. And so, it would be nice if there wasn't as much of a divide, but from what I've heard recently, that's kind of changed, that there's not as much of a divide anymore, um, from what my younger friends have told me. So that's good. I haven't had, like I obviously I haven't been there in the last 2 years, so I'm not really sure what that looks like, but, apparently um, that's been alleviated, so that's good. But otherwise, honestly, I don't think I'd change that much because even the things that were, like, difficult, which usually didn't have to do with the school, it just had to do with the fact that there was, like, 30 16-year-olds in the same, like, area, which creates a vibe of its own. But, even the things that were, like, negative, contributed to my development as a person, which sounds kind of like I'm, a 50-year-old adult saying that. But it's like I don't know, even the struggles that I had there, helped me learn about myself and about my peers. So I don't think I would change them for the better because when you go through those things together, it helps you grow. So I don't think I'd change anything just because of that. I think that when I started, I was very unsure of what it would be like because I went to a very small school, for my elementary school years, and it was a very small kind of, quite strict Christian school, and the class sizes were extremely small. But I didn't, I enjoyed it there, but it was a bit too strict for me. Like, I'm not particularly religious, and so it was, it's a learning curve for sure. And so when I went to RJC, I wasn't sure what it would be like, because I'd had that other experience, and I was thinking, oh my gosh, like, because to me that would be like going to public school. It was so different from what I had before experience. I was thinking like, oh my gosh, there's going to be these, you know, cool people, and like I don't know if they're gonna like me, like I don't know if I'm gonna be able to, because they RJC kind of has a reputation of having like cool students. Like the students are usually like cool people, and I was like, I'm not cool people. Like I don't know how this is gonna go. And so at first I was really apprehensive, and even in my first year I had quite a hard time. But then as I matured in the school and got to know, and you really feel like you're maturing with your classmates. So as we all grew together, I began to see just how much of a supportive family it was, like how much support I got from there, and how available everybody was, to help you and to assist you with whatever you need. Especially the teachers are really welcoming, and I still stay in touch with a lot of my teachers, which is nice. Like they really want to connect with you on a personal level. So I at first it felt kind of cold, like I was scared that it would be cold and very performance driven, like with academics, with everything, that you should be good at everything. But then as I grew, I realized that you just actually become good at everything naturally. Like you just naturally grow into an RJC student. You don't have to force it. And so, I don't know, the pressure, I felt a lot of pressure, but then as I grew, I realized there wasn't any pressure at all. It was just me being like, "Oh, I'm 16 and I don't know anything." I think you get some more perspective, so, like, the things that seemed so important and so, like, like the end of the world in high school, when you get out of it, you look back and you're like, "Wow, that didn't matter. Alright, cool," and so I think when I look back, I realize how easy of a time I had there, like, how relaxed and truly just kind of laid back it was, and I didn't really see that, when I was going there because everything feels like a big deal when you're a younger teenager, and also, I think now it's interesting because I get to see kind of the next generation, like, I met my boyfriend at RJC, and his younger brother and his group of friends are going there now, and they're just in grade 10, and in grade 11, and I think one in grade 12, so they're kind of all throughout, and it's interesting to see them go through it because you really see them grow, and I get to see them grow as people. So, I guess when I went there, I didn't think that it would completely really change me that much as a person, but then when I see it from the outside after I've graduated and I can see other people go through it, I see how much they grow and how much they change and how their confidence builds and the skills that they grow. And so, I don't know, I think I appreciated it more after I graduated, than when I went there because I kinda took it for granted a little bit. Like, the first one, the biggest one is community. Like, that's just across the board, biggest reason your kid or yourself, if you're a student, is gonna have a community. Like, you kind of even if you're one of those people that's like, I'm not gonna have friends, I'm not gonna do it, I don't wanna, whatever. You just do. Like, you don't think you will, and then all of a sudden you grow into a community. So having those friends and like I am in touch with a lot of my RJC friends still. Like my whole class still is very quite close actually. Like when we see each other, we are like, "Oh my God, hi." Like, so you grow those lifelong friendships there, which is kind of a cliche thing, but it's true, you do. And so that's number one. The other one is if you're planning to go to university and if you're not, it really prepares you, and I think that's kinda rare that schools try to prepare you for university. That's, like, their only thing that they do, but RJC really, has a wide variety of things that it teaches you, so even if you don't want to go into university, if you wanna, um, explore music or, go in that direction or do trades or whatever you want to do, it prepares you for those things too, um, which I think is really important and important to a lot of people because not everybody wants to go to university and not everybody should. Like you don't have to. There's so many choices, and I think university is pushed too much, but it's not as pushed there. You're just, they're preparing you for whatever life you choose. So that one's really important. And um, that being said, if you want to go to university, it also prepares you for that, which is it's good to have that balance. So that and then the third thing, it's the confidence thing, honestly. I think that kinda goes back to the first thing I said, but you grow this confidence about yourself that's hard to learn, especially when you're a teen. It's hard to feel confident in yourself because you feel like everybody's looking at you all the time. So, when you grow that confidence, I think it really helps you to live the rest of your life in a way that's meaningful for yourself. So, I think many people have the experience that after they graduate, they feel like they know themselves well enough to explore the avenue that they want to, check out for their life, and they also are open-minded about whatever avenue they choose is, they're not so they don't feel pressured to do one specific thing. There's so many things, and then they feel prepared for it. So, yeah, good stepping stone into life, I think. Um, this one sounds kind of like an annoying piece of advice, but like grade 10 will probably suck. Like it's just given. Like you're coming to a school that you're not used to, you're probably in a town you're not used to. It's an awesome town. Like Roston is actually kind of like it feels like a bigger small town, even though it is a small town, but there's lots of resources here, but still it's a small town. Like there's lots of people that come in from like Hong Kong, so obviously it's a little bit of a change, you know. It's like there are 4 people here total. Like, and so, you know, grade 10 will probably suck, and that's fine. Like just let it be terrible. You need that experience, and don't think, "Oh my god, everybody's having such a much better time than me. Like why am I the only one who's being dragged along here?" It's like, "No, no. Everyone's being dragged along. It's fine." And just wait until the end of grade 10, beginning of grade 11, things will start getting better. And you don't think it will. Like you start and you think, "Oh my god, I don't fit in here. Like this is stupid." But then as you change, and as you grow, you do actually begin to fit in, but you get to fit in as an individual, not as just like, one of the army of people that go to this school. So, yeah, just wait out the tough bit because there will be a tough bit. Wait it out. You'll get through it. Um, the other thing is, really don't put yourself in a box. Like I think lots of people, especially in public school, you have the artist, you have the class clown, you have the athlete, you have the weird person, which is me. Um, and you get to know yourself as that and just that. You are an athlete, you are an athlete, you are an athlete. Like there's no, other sides to that. And I think that it's really important not to put yourself in that box or feel, so like all strict about being like that. Because what often happens is a lot of people go to RJC and they've been an athlete all their life, and then all of a sudden they realize they love singing and they love music. And that can be scary because it's like, okay, you know, basketball's been my identity for my whole life, but now I love the performing arts. Like, who am I? And don't keep yourself in that box just because you're used to that box. Like, let whatever you feel your heart going towards, just let that happen naturally. You don't have to force it. Um, and I think probably last thing, um, trust your classmates, like trust your teachers, I think, because I think in a lot of schools there's a huge disconnect between teachers and students. But at RJC, like we call our teachers by their first name, because they want to build a connection between like yourself and your teacher. Like they want to get to know you and they care about you as a person. They're not just delivering their 10th science lecture of the day. They actually want to know what you as a person think about this topic, or what you have to say. It's not just for them to fill a time slot. So trust trust your teachers and put yourself out there. Put yourself out there to your classmates. Really really be open, and that'll help you a lot, I think, as you go through your school experience, to not hold yourself back from making those connections, because I think lots of people shy away from that, but it's really important to do that. So get to know your teachers. Lots of them, they're all really really cool. So talk to them.
For more information about this school, you can visit their profile at rkids.net.